Hey guys, how's it going? I'm going to make another follow-up video, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the iPhone 6 saga did not actually end until today, a week after making my last video. So my last video is a little irrelevant now, but I guess I'll leave it up just because, it details a couple of the things that I've had gone on with this phone. But basically what happened is I got that replacement phone in that video, and I said it was okay, but literally hours after I got it, it started to develop the same screen flex issue where the screen would flex in and out on the left side here by the volume buttons, and I just was really mad. So I got my friends together, Chris and Manley, my friends, and we drove up to another Apple store out of area because I thought that might make a difference in terms of the whole batch thing. They might have had just a bad batch of replacements with my local Apple store, so we drove, I don't know, about an hour away from where I live to go to another Apple store, and we got another replacement there. And I checked it out, and I initially thought it was good, but literally the minute I walked out of the store, the phone had more problems than all of the other ones combined. It not only had the screen lift issue again, it had a loose lock button, the lock button on the right side here was really loose. It just felt really cheap and nasty. And the Apple logo on the back of the phone, you guys know how it is a stainless steel separate part from the aluminum casing because Apple wanted to make it look a little shinier, I guess, and put a stainless steel logo on instead of just polishing it into the aluminum. I don't really like that they did this because that introduces a whole nother manufacturing thing. That's just another area of the phone that could go wrong. But anyway, nonetheless, the Apple logo on the back was off-center. In other words, there was a big gap on the right side, and there wasn't on the left side, so that irritated me a little bit. So I wasn't having it. I wasn't having that phone. I used it, well, actually, no, I didn't use it. I used it for a day, maybe. And I traded with my friend Chris. He also has an iPhone 6, and his phone was fine overall, but the screen still did the screen thing. It didn't do it that bad, but the biggest problem was the front FaceTime camera was off to the left a little bit, so you could see a little crevice on the right side. That was annoying, so I took it in to get the display replaced, and after that, it did the screen lift issue worse than all of my other phones, like the previous ones. So I was like, oh god. So I switched back with Chris, and I got the phone with the loose lock button and the Apple logo thing again, and I took it into Apple, and basically they told me that those two things, or those three things actually, were all within design specifications for the phone, so they weren't going to replace it. Different people were working at the Apple store, so I kind of understand why I received different service, but yeah, nonetheless, they did not replace my phone again. So I was kind of like, okay, well, screw you too then. Although I do kind of understand, after me having so many replacements, what's another replacement isn't going to solve my issue. So I kind of understood, but I was kind of pissed off at the same time. So I started looking for other phones. I started looking at different phones, non-iPhones, and I was like, no, I basically laid out my options like this. 1, I can keep the iPhone 6 that I have now with all the issues. 2, I can sell it and get an iPhone 5S. And option 3, I can sell it and get a completely different phone, not an iPhone. I ended up going with option 2. I went on Craigslist, I found a guy who was selling an iPhone 5S, so I ended up trading him my iPhone 6, and he gave me an iPhone 5S plus some money to make up for it. And I took that. So I got the iPhone 5S, which I actually don't have with me right now because I'm at my other house, but I still do have it, otherwise I would have shown it on video. But I got the iPhone 5S, I used it, it was fine for a day. It worked flawlessly with T-Mobile. This is a Verizon unlocked A1533 model, so yeah, it worked on T-Mobile, but at the same time I got kind of fed up with T-Mobile because I got a bill for twice as much as it was normally, and basically that's a long story, but basically that's 2 months worth of bills that didn't get paid for some reason. So yeah, it wasn't our fault, you know. It wasn't my fault. They didn't make clear when I bought my first iPhone 6 they were going to give me some sort of credit. So I thought that meant I didn't have to pay the bill. So that was actually kind of my fault, but nonetheless I used that as an excuse to get rid of T-Mobile. I paid that bill. I paid off the ETF for the iPhone 6 that I originally purchased from them. And I switched over to AT&T again. So I was with T-Mobile for 3 months and I got tired of their crappy service. And their system just sucked, and they sold me a defective iPhone, so there's 3 for 3 right there. I kind of got fed up with T-Mobile. I kind of really regret that whole situation. But I am now back on AT&T, as you can see. But anyway, moving on, the 5S worked on AT&T, but it turns out that when I first got the service and they put it in the 5S, LTE was not working, and they told me that, well, that could be one of two things. One, it could just take some time to kick in, and or two, because of the model of your phone, LTE won't work at all because it is not an AT&T branded device, which is kind of weird because I waited. Well, it's kind of weird because the Verizon iPhone 5S supports all of the necessary LTE bands and the frequencies for AT&T, so I don't understand why the LTE wasn't working. But nonetheless, it was not working. I waited about 45 minutes and it wasn't kicking in, so I had to go back over to the AT&T store and I had to buy a new phone. I was forced. I was leaving to here for this weekend, and I needed another phone, or I needed a working phone with LTE. So that's where this phone came from. This is a white and gold, or champagne, whatever you want to call it. This is a white and gold 64 gigabyte iPhone 6. So here it is. And yeah, this is an AT&T model, as you saw up there. I am now running on AT&T, and the great news is that this phone does not have any of the build quality issues that my previous ones had. So, the front camera is totally fine. The home button is completely fine as well. The screen doesn't move an inch, and sorry about all the squeakies, that's my chair. But anyway, the screen doesn't move one bit no matter how hard you push it. It's pretty amazing. The lock button isn't loose. This phone is just pretty much flawless overall. The only thing I am seeing, and I'm not going to call this a problem because it really isn't, is that this phone has somewhat of the same Apple logo being misaligned thing. The Apple logo on the top is kind of a little, it's got more of a gap than there is on the bottom, but as you can see there, it's nothing big. It looks pretty uniform all over. And yeah, the way I figured this out is, I can end up sticking a piece of paper in between here, and I tried it down here and it wouldn't work. So yeah, the gap on the top is a little bit bigger than the gap on the bottom, but it really doesn't matter. The Apple logo still looks pretty uniform even with this paper. And then obviously when you're looking at it, like this, you can't tell at all. So I don't care. That is not a problem. That's just a very, very minuscule cosmetic thing. And when you're looking at it from a normal viewing distance, you can't notice at all. So not a big deal. Everything else about this phone is fine. I actually do really like the gold iPhone 6. I think it's really nice. I haven't had a white phone since the iPhone 4, so this is kind of, nostalgic for me. And then of course, you can't see fingerprints as easily on the white iPhone, so that helps too. And yeah, so you can't see dust and or fingerprints around the corners, which is nice. Helps with my OCD a little bit. So there you go. I finally have a completely flawless iPhone 6 and good cell coverage. So there we go. I, got the AT&T iPhone 6, which happens to be completely perfect, and I switched from T-Mobile to AT&T. So there you go. I now have AT&T LTE. So where I used to get 0 service at this house before, now I have 2 bars of LTE. So I'm really, really happy about that. So there we go. And it only costs $15 more a month, but I think that's worth it for the way better coverage that you're getting with AT&T. I really wish I would have never left AT&T in the first place, but I'm back with them now, and I have a flawless phone, so all is well. So that is the final end to my iPhone 6 saga. I also got this case. This is, the same case that I had before, the Spigen Slim Armor, but this is the gunmetal color, which you can't really tell right now, but it kind of looks a little bit gold, so it does match the gold phone a little bit. So yeah, this was given to me by my friend Chris, so he was nice enough to give me this case. So there we go. I am done, and this is finally over. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you later.